Okay, so first question, Oliver. You feel like you're a puzzle piece that's in the wrong set of pieces around you. Is that because there's a uniqueness to you and you're just committed to always being different? Because you've had to always be different. You've had to always stand out. You've had to always fight and prove and push and prod your way into the room and find ways to stand out. Or have you always found safety in blending in with everyone else?
I would say it was the former of those two. If we were going to go to one or the other, I don't think that I've ever been comfortable with being just among the crowd, if you will. But I also agree that when you push so hard, you get told about as you're starting the entrepreneur journey, starting whatever journey, transforming yourself, be it via your religion, via finances, or maybe you're trying to get in a room that everybody does one specific thing in art, whatever it is. You push to get there, then you get there and you feel like you're out of place because you're not at the same place that everybody else is, if that makes sense. So, I'm in rooms now with millionaires and not just like what I would call, and not disrespectful to them because I'm not there yet, but a light millionaire. Like they're just getting there, right? They're at 1.5. I'm talking 100, 200K, 200 million, 50 million, 60 million. Like they're up there. And I'm like, I don't know. I keep looking at it and seeing the conversations that they're having. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like I'm kind of lost, but I try to appreciate the fact that I'm there and I'm taking everything in. But I always feel like, okay, what is going on? How did I get here? And how do I fit in with a crowd that I feel like I don't fit in with, if that makes sense?
No, I get that. Why don't you fit in?
One, the financial number. That's definitely the first thing. I'm not there. I think maybe a part of it too could be maybe because of the army, maybe because I'm still in. Maybe there's something there. That I just don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm there where they are. Though I'm listening to conversations, I can add a few things here and there, but I constantly feel out of place, even though I was invited in the first place. Like it wasn't something I paid for. It was like, hey, put me in. They were like, hey, I want to add you to this group, and they add me. And then that was that.
All right. So in some ways you're counting what's different, not what's the same. But I also hear underneath all this, I'll push a major button here.
Okay.
What I hear in all this is like, I don't understand why I'm here if I'm not special. Right? There's hey, I want to stand out because I'm special. I'm different. I got something unique to add. But they didn't give you a celebration. They didn't like welcome you on stage and give you a doctorate degree.
Yeah, true.
They just kind of snuck you in the back door.
Right.
And if there's anything that you may want and crave, it's to be celebrated for being unique. And I get that because I think I'm very similar. But what I hear is like, I got there, but I didn't get there the way I wanted to. So how would you have wanted to get there? Like, again, they walk you on stage and they're like, and Mr. Perry, and all of a sudden, like, your name flashes on screen. They're like, welcome. Like, man, we are so lucky to have this human being in this group.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that.
No, I don't think it was so much the admiration part of it. And don't get me wrong, I am 100% a fan of seeing my name in the billboards. No problem with that whatsoever. Just saying, in this particular instance, I think it's more because I'm like the biggest thing that glares out to me is these people are like on a whole nother level. The problems that they discuss aren't regular problems. Like it's not like, oh, I had to go walk the dog today. It's three of my employees canceled. My plane's engine busted. And now I've got to fix this, and that, and a third. And the stock is dropping for the company. And we were supposed to go IPO tomorrow. Like these are crazy level problems in my head. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, my biggest problem is, all right, well, the car has a flat tire. You know what I mean? Or the school got canceled, so somebody's got to stay home and watch the girls. Or my wife is annoyed with me because I didn't take the trash out yesterday. Like those are the problems that I deal with. It's not so much a financial level problem. And I think that, like you were saying, that could be the way I wanted to get there, was to be at 1.5, to be at the 2 million, to be at 3 million. I find myself in this group and I'm barely in the 180s. Right. So it's, I don't know. That's what kind of rattles around in my brain at that point.
Okay. It's interesting to follow the train of thought, because if you follow it long enough, it has to loop back on itself. I don't feel good about like that we don't share the same problems. Okay. Well, A, you could learn about the problems, or B, you probably actually share a lot in common with them in some capacity, but I understand. Okay. We don't share the same thing in common. Then, hey, I'd like to be able to offer more or provide value or help, but our relatedness isn't the same. Eventually, all of that, if you loop that far enough, it all gets back to, but we're different. It always loops back to, but we're different.
Right.
And the challenge with that loop is that if I really questioned you deep enough, I know you would tell me you want to be in this kind of group.
100%. Absolutely.
So you want it, but the way that you got it doesn't feel authentic. Probably feels like a handout.
Feels accidental.
Interesting.
It feels like it feels too by chance. And granted, it could be the first impression that I made, that got me there, of course, or even the continued conversation from there.
But you didn't quote unquote earn it.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't. I think it goes back to that. It doesn't feel like I earned the right to be there, or I'm really. And it could be like you said, that I don't feel like I'm providing value. Like I can't help them solve the problems that they have, even though I'd like to be a part. I can offer like very simplistic, simplistic perspective, but not on the level that they would need to actually take it and run with it.
It's a very interesting mindset. What do you think a coach gets paid for?
Coaching, help. That's a dumb answer. That's a bad answer, Ollie.
It's not wrong. But what is coaching?
So I'd say the only thing I compare it to is soccer. So I'd say bringing out what a person doesn't know that they have, or you see that they have, and you don't know. They don't know.
Yeah. If I had to sum that up in one word, it'd be perspective.
Okay.
So if my job is to provide perspective to someone, it doesn't necessarily matter that I don't have the same relativity, the same problems, the same ecosystem, the same financials. What matters is the perspective helpful enough to get and create change? Now, the reason that's important is that if the whole tie to this organization is like, I want to be different, or I thought I'd get in different, or, I want to stand out. I want to be able to add value. And the only way to add value feels like it's at compromise because you didn't get it the way you wanted. You didn't earn it. It feels different than maybe you would have expected. then you actually have something that they may not. You have a unique perspective. But I think in order to accept that, you'd have to get to a place where mentally, the way you start thinking about the opportunity is not, I don't fit here. You'd have to create that into a question. How do I fit here? How can I help here? How can I serve? And rather than trying to stand out, you probably would have to blend in. And that can be really difficult. I think when we find organizations, everyone is trying to find, how do they stand out? What makes them different? What makes them unique?
Right.
But in any community, most of, at least what I've learned, most of what makes someone stand out is not what they do. It's not who they are. It's not their job. It's not their money. It's their service. And I think that what I'm hearing you say is, I don't have a way to serve. That's where I'm really hearing the struggle is, hey, but Aaron, I don't actually have a way to serve. Is that fair?
I think that's fair.
Okay. So that perspective, we can shift. That much we can change. If you got it in a way that you don't feel great about, or if you're around people that you don't feel like you're connected to, then what we have to do is figure out, how can you serve? Because I know you to be a very service-oriented person.
Very true.
And now your superpowers not active.
Right.
What have you been telling yourself as you go back and forth on this community?
I try to remind myself that I was invited in for a reason. Even though I may not necessarily know what the reason is, I know I was invited in for a reason because they feel like there is something that I bring to the table. I just don't know. Like I said, I don't know what that actually is, because I know it's not the money. I know it's not me being on camera or the audio visual stuff that I do, or the time on YouTube or podcasting or whatever else. I know it's not real estate, because they're way bigger on that than I am. So that's probably the one thing that I've been telling myself constantly, like, hey, there's a reason you're here. So even when I respond to something in the group, or I say something in the group, I try to maintain what I know, right? I can't talk about what I don't or have no idea about. So if there's something that I've read in a book that provides a moment of levity to the person, or there's something I think of that might be of assistance, I add that. But sometimes I don't know, I don't know if it connects or not. Because it's not like you get a direct feedback. It could be days before, anybody gives a thumbs up or a heart, or say, oh, that's a great point, whatever it might be. Not that it's necessary, but so much that it is, that lets me know, okay, cool. There's something there. But again, being invited in the group, there's something. I just don't know what it is. And maybe that's the part that kind of not irritates me, but pops in my head constantly, like, why I'm here. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? That kind of thing.
Okay. Then we're going to push 2 more buttons.
All right, let's do it.
Have you ever had a really big life choice that you need to make, but you just kept pushing it off? And
yes.
Do you want to share what it is, or we can move past it?
Yeah. So, no. I can share. I didn't know. My bad. I should have included more information. So, so I had the podcast, Real Estate from the Foxhole. And though it wasn't big for others, this was huge. This was huge for me, because I had been at that podcast for about 3 years. And I decided to stop. And I think we talked about this before.
That's right. You and I texted about it.
Yeah, we texted about it. And I had come to the conclusion that it wasn't helping me in the real world to get where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 reasons. One, poor planning on my part. The very much, you know how we are, just jump in and figure it out as we're falling. that being one. And then two, because it was sucking up so much time that I couldn't go offer on multifamily properties. I couldn't make phone calls. I couldn't send text messages.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of time that was sucked up that I couldn't use.
I get that.
So I let it go. But that was in January I stopped, and I was supposed to come back in February. I didn't. But that was big for me because I was like 3 years I had been going at it and I didn't want to stop, but I knew for me to go to a different plateau with what I was doing or to go to the next step, I had to. And then I had to reapproach it later on, which is another thing that I didn't want to do because it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
But this time I'll have a plan. I'll have all that stuff laid out and I'm not going to do all the work. That's the other thing. That was a nightmare.
So how long did it take you to make that choice? Was it months? Was it weeks?
Months. It took January, February, March, April. I think I'm just settling with it now. Maybe a couple days ago, I started settling with it. Okay. I kept thinking, I got to go back. I got to go back. And now I've just shifted to letting it go and then planning for a year away from now to have a whole new layout, a whole new setup, actually laying everything out. So that come the beginning of 2025 or 2026 or whenever it is, I already have a plan on, okay, this is how it's going to go. And I have a way forward, which is what I didn't have in the first one. So
great. So when we take big decisions like shutting down something we've done for 3 years,
mm-hmm.
and we look at how long it takes to make the decision, months in this case.
Yep.
It's always interesting to look back and see what happened after you decided. Because we hesitate on these things for months.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we make the choice, almost immediately resources free up, mental resources, capital, money, time, energy, all of that.
That's true. Yeah.
But the process is grueling. We just put ourselves through it. Like, do I do it? Do I not? 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 So months of teetering and using all of our mental space to make a decision is completely undone with the choice.
Right.
We just need to make the choice faster. But here's button number 1. You're spending a lot of time on why am I here? Almost, if I had to reframe the question, it's, I don't understand why I'm here. Someone please tell me. Right?
Right.
How much resource is going to that question? Because that question, 1, you will probably never find an answer to. 2, even if you did find an answer, would that change what you do? Probably not. And 3, what happens when you just make a choice to be there and leverage and lean in and serve and do all that, which is going to be button number 2 in a minute. And you could just move forward. Sounds like what happens when a team loses a game or wins a game and the coach sits down for the next week. And instead of focusing on the next game, they're like, all right, what went wrong or what went right?
Right.
Really doesn't matter. You got a game in a week.
Got it.
So the question would be, how much time are you spending pontificating the question, why am I here? Versus activating?
Probably too much. I couldn't imagine to put a time on it. It's not all consuming, but it is when I'm in the group. So like when I put the phone down or if I turn the computer off, it doesn't cross my mind. But if I'm in the group and I'm saying stuff or speaking, that's when it's kind of running through my head because I'll type something. I'll say, let me delete that. That's too aggressive. Or I'll type something else. No, that sounds silly. It's like making a phone call to a friend. There's a show called Community. And in the show, the character Troy calls his best friend at the end of the show and he tells him to meet him at the flag post in front of the school. And he keeps recording it over and over and over and over and over again because it's too aggressive. He said, nah, that sounds weird. That sounds kind of creepy. Like it's that kind of thing. So I'll go back and forth. And by the end of it, I end up with like a 2-word sentence. Like, oh, that's a good idea. or something. Cause I'm like, all right, well, I'll keep it as general as possible. Cause I'm worried about not, like you said, maybe not like you said, but just maybe not connecting, that non-connection of the connection I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's
Very difficult way to describe it.
I hear in that you're second guessing yourself, you're second guessing your value, you're second guessing all these things because of this question. This question is, why am I here? I've got to somehow discover it. So I'm going to spend all this time and money and energy figuring it out versus I'm just going to be who I am. I'm going to do what I do.
Yeah.
Leads us to question number 2, or button number 3, technically. I think that when a service-oriented individual finds himself in a situation where they're unclear on how to serve, they unravel. Because worth is often tied to service. This was former me. If I couldn't serve, if I couldn't be helpful, if I couldn't give to the situation, I did not feel like I belonged because I had no way to help someone. And that pointed out a very fundamental flaw in the flow of my life. I could give relentlessly, but I was pretty shit at getting and receiving. And maybe, given you have a marked history in service from a variety of different perspectives, including the service, but serving has definitely been your MO. Maybe this is a moment where you get to sit down and shut up and just receive. And that would break your method of creating worth and value and declaring who you are. And in a way, it would kind of derail your ability to say, hey, I do belong here, because you'd have to just belong. You wouldn't be able to say it anymore. You'd have to just be there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be real interesting to say the least. Yeah, I think that could be a thing. That could be the thing. That maybe it's less time. Maybe it's like reading the book, like learning the lessons from others, as opposed to having to provide what I've gotten or what I receive from any lesson. Of course, speaking here and there, still speaking, of course, but nothing where I feel like I'm forcing. I'm just speaking. Yeah, I think that would probably be the thing. I never thought about it like that. And particularly hear you say service, think about the military part of it. That's all I know. Dang. Yeah. Dead air is bad on radio, but I don't know what else. I don't know what to say.
We're going to go into this. I just want you to have this moment of like, okay, wait a minute, computing. Here's why I say this in particular. When you start hanging around people that are very different than you, especially as someone aware, it will summon all of your insecurities to the surface. All of them. What you wear, what you say, what you do, what you don't do. The way you talk about what you do, the way you share what you do, the way you sell, it changes everything. Because we think that we've got to change to fit the new group. Because historically, you have changed to fit in any group. That's the reality.
Yeah.
You changed to fit in the military. You probably changed to fit in the podcast community. You probably changed to fit in the real estate community. You probably changed to fit in the marriage. Probably changed to fit into the dad. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what we do. But in particular, when we hold these people to such high regard that we're excited to be around them, it'd be like meeting a celebrity. Hi. Right? Rather than like, hey, dude, what's up? I'm Aaron. Great to meet you. We get like shell-shocked and starstruck. And what that immediately does is it creates two very unique situations for someone on the other side. Number one is they're like, maybe you don't fit here because you're not authentic. The second is it creates a hesitation for both parties to have a meaningful connection, and therefore to feel like you're a part of the group and to be able to serve, the link is broken. It's a really tricky situation to be in, but it's a tricky situation because it's not a real, it's not real anymore.
Right.
You were invited into the group because of you, not because of what you do, not because of like how tall you are, not because of the history that you have, just because of you. That's it. And accepting that is probably really difficult because it sounds like you're looking for all the validation around you and you can't find it because it's not there.
Yeah.
And as a result, the actions that happen when we look for validation that isn't there is we almost like throw out fishing hooks left and right to help us find the validation. And while you're seeking validation, you know what everyone else sees? You ever been around somebody that's seeking validation all the time?
Yeah. See, a weirdo. You're doing too much.
Hey, bro.
That's always the case.
Hey. Relax, man. You're here. You're here. It's okay. You're safe here.
Right.
Because the deepest fear underneath of all of this, whether you've said it or ever would, is what if I'm exposed and they kick me out? That's the fear.
Yeah.
And the further down this track of like, hey, I'm not authentic. I'm like trying to find the validation. I'm trying to find the reason. I'm like hunting for the data and the information that says I belong here. The longer that game is played, the more likely that fear is to come to reality, to fruition.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely it. That's definitely what I find myself working to keep from doing or becoming. The guy who you're like, all right, man, hey, I need you to chill out a little bit. You're good. Chill out, relax. Like you've made it. You know what I mean? The rookie who gets on the team and who's just doing too much, like balls to the wall on everything, not because it's a matter of them, improving, but it's a matter of them making sure that everybody sees that they're doing this, that, and third.
Well said. There's a very big difference between being the first one at training because you're the first one to train, or being the first one at training because you want everyone else to see you be the first one at training.
Right. And I mean, it has this place, but it also has the reasoning behind it. Like the Ronaldos, the Kobes, the Messis of the world doing it is pushing themselves to the next level, but not doing it because they want the attention. They want people to see that they do it. They're just doing it because that's what they know they need to do to be the best there is.
That's who they are. Correct. It's authentic. And there's a big difference, though subtle, in service and validation. I think a line that has always stuck with me, and I am in no way perfect at this, is a constant reminder that I have to give myself. It's better to be interested than interesting. And I think that in a community like this, the line between can I find validation and can I offer service is so slim, because wherever successful people are, there are also many, many individuals who will quote unquote serve and help with an edge. That's what these communities are great at dispelling and blockading, is like everyone here has something to offer for sure. But also everyone here has been through this gambit at least enough to know that like when they ask a question, they mean it, or when they answer, they mean it. And there's an authenticity because of it, right?
Right.
There's something really unique about communities that are all high level people, because inside of them, you can have your guard down a little bit, but out in the world, you can't. And if you can be interested you'll probably find your chance to actually be able to serve. But if you're just attempting to be interesting for the validation of it, and you can ask me how I know, I think what you'll find is that it almost is like a repellent. It's like spraying off all over yourself and then trying to catch bugs.
Yeah. The quote of being interested versus interesting sticks out to me. Considering in one group I'm in, you know of this group, the Go Abundance Emerge group. Shout out to them. I don't do, like, at this point, I'm at the point where I don't have the time to really be deep into the comments and stuff like that. But I will post a question that's just a question and just let people answer. That has garnered more attention than anything that I've posted before on what's going on or what's happening or something I found different. It was just me asking a question. Specifically, the question was made specifically for people to respond to, and people spent more time responding to those questions that were as if I'm asking them a question about something that I'm interested in knowing about them than it was about them knowing something about me.
The group isn't going to tell you why you're there. There will not be proof that you belong. And that's really important just to hear, because if you were on that quest, it will be a very long pursuit because you can't ever get it.
Right.
A lot of resources can go into it. I mean, you can hunt, you can ask around like, hey, man, you know why I'm here? But again, like let's make this a comedy. Like, imagine joining a running group and you meet at the location and you're like, hey, like somebody invited me to this group, but like, I don't really know. You guys know why I'm here? They're like, I don't know, bro. And then all of a sudden the group starts running and now you're running with the group and you're like, hey, where, do you guys know why I'm here? They're like, bro, I don't even know who you are. And then eventually you start asking more people, hey, you guys know why I'm here? Someone in that group is going to be like, bro, this is why you're here. You're doing it right now. Stop asking questions about the run and just run.
Right.
And I think that's sort of the irony of being human in tribes, is that we work so hard to find a good tribe, work incredibly diligently. Like whatever you've been doing, it's working.
Right.
To get into the right room. And then you get in the room and we say, well, wait. Hold on. Wait, was I ready for this?
Right.
And at a core, the fear is, what if I get exiled? What if they discover that I'm not like them? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not worthy? What if I'm not, for the sake of the group, lovable within the constraints of the group? And these are the insecurities that are just coming up whenever we join a high level group. It's just part of it. But I think you'll have to take down the focus on that so that your resources actually go to meeting with these people and asking these people questions. I mean, if you had a podcast, and I listened to your podcast many times, you're great at asking questions, which means you can be very helpful to someone who is stuck. Because that's what I do. And that's the most helpful thing I can do at times, is ask questions with new perspectives. So you've got something.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's definitely something I could do. Yeah, it's definitely something I could do. I never just considered the fact just asking until, of course, like you said, just till now, of just asking questions. Dang.
I ask questions for a living. And Oliver, I've watched the way you find seams into new information. And I think that it's important to understand the difference between like service from a place of validation and serving, like genuinely serving. But I think similarly, you and I are probably attuned with what it means to just help somebody with what we're good at.
Right.
I don't need to know everything. Dude, we're in so many different industries. Get out of your own way as a company. Our coaching platform, our structure, our programs are in so many different industries. There's no way for me to be an expert in any of them simultaneously. So what's the value then? Well, the value is not, I need to be the expert in the business that you're in. That'd be silly.
Right.
That's your job. The value is, hey, if we assess across a lot of different industries or based on very different metrics and analytics, can we ask you some questions that help you get unstuck or go further faster? Maybe that's the role and the gift that you can offer them. That becomes genuine, right? It's not forced. You're not trying to prove like, hey, I fit here. You're actually saying like, hey, I may not know anything about what you're experiencing, but can I ask you questions that might provide a unique perspective? Might help you wrestle some things loose. Might help you see things different. But you would have to lay down the like hunt for validation and therefore the inauthenticity that comes, and I don't mean that in a negative way, like the inauthentic, like, hey, I'm going to prove that I can be here. And instead, I'm going to ask you questions and they might be silly. They might be completely silly, but
ask them anyway.
Yeah, I bet I can help you. Out of 10 questions, I bet one would help.
Mm. Yeah. I could definitely do that. That sounds more natural than going out of my way trying to make something that's not. Yeah.
You were around, I think you and I were hanging out at Blue Pit Barbecue around the time I published Let Her Play.
Mm-hmm.
And Let Her Play was an interesting one because I wasn't a parent and I'm not a woman. And the publication of that book was largely around, hey, look, I'm not great at either of those things because I'm neither of those things. What I am is this third party that has seen with tons and tons of athletes, specifically female athletes, what they want from their parents and coaches. So that's now my experience lived in. But if I am meeting with someone who's been a parent or a teacher or whatever, it's just important to contextualize it and say, hey, can I share some things with you that I've learned? And if you've had a podcast, been in the military, been invested in real estate, have a family, have a spouse, like regardless of whether or not you are experiencing the same problems, you actually might be able to offer something that no one else can because of the things that you've been involved in. If you zoom out far enough, military is a huge operation, huge organization. You've been married, you have kids, like you got all the constituents of like a person with a lot of experience and wisdom to bring to the group. But I think kind of like Let Her Play, you can go in and contextualize, say, hey, I'm not a parent, I'm not a woman, but these are the nuggets from my experience that helped me. And I have a question for you as a result of that experience. And I'm willing to bet that lands really, really well because then you have context and a question.
Right.
And that's a really powerful framework for adding value without needing to be the expert, without needing to know everything. You're essentially helping draw out, like you said about coaches and athletes, drawing out the best of the player versus having to like I don't want to be the coach of Messi and try to pretend like I'm going to show him how to do free kicks and
Right.
dribble. Like, nah, bro.
Right.
You do that. Hey, let's check out this game footage. Let me ask you a couple questions and see if I can help you see the game differently.
Yeah. Dang, yeah, I didn't put that together. That wasn't at all a thought process in any of it. That makes me feel, and I think you telling me you're not going to find that approval. You're not going to find that, hey, the banners aren't going to go up. The confetti's not going to be popped. I think that helped too. On top of, even though that's the case, what I think my superpower isn't doing, I'm still able to do. Because it's just a matter of providing context and asking a question. Yeah. And that's it.
You want to know a secret?
What's that?
The strength that you have, the superpower that you have, isn't being applied to this scenario because of an insecurity. And the secret is that's not a reason to stop trusting your superpower. If anything, that's a reason to come back home. When you come back home to what you're best at, and you tell your insecurities, like, hey, I'll come back to you later, but for right now, I'm going to go do what I'm great at. And you might need to figure out a new way to apply it. But your superpower hasn't failed you. You've just failed to leverage your superpower in a new group, in a new place.
Right.
Just because the environment's different doesn't mean Superman can't fly. Just might mean flying's a little different.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay. Yeah, the wheels clicked. It just that clicked. That clicked.
So what's coming up?
Nothing. That clears it, because it's the superpower is never going to go away. It's just applied differently. Like, when you look at every problem and all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? But the superpower isn't a hammer. Superpower is relatively interchangeable, particularly with part of it being, hey, you just ask a question. That can be done in any situation. Even with a hammer or without a hammer, it can be asked, it can be answered, right? So, that's what went through my head just now as I thought about it. That I'm adding more to a situation that doesn't require more.
100%. And that's all based on the flaring of insecurities, which is human. I'm
Right.
in no way, I don't ever want to shame that. Coming back home to, I'm just going to do what I'm great at, and I'll find a way. And that will require some stumbling. Like, you may not get it perfect at first. But if someone says, like, oh man, my I don't know, my jet engine blew out yesterday and I don't know what to do. Like, hey, well, where do you need to go and where are you? Well, I need to go from Charlotte to Nashville. Okay. Well, let me look up and see if there's some kind of different service you can use. I got you. No problem. I'll take 5 minutes to do that. That might be as simple as it is. But I know that when I'm in panic and I've got 7,000 things going on, sometimes I can't even pause long enough to, like, think about my problem rationally because I'm emotional.
Right.
Maybe you can provide that for somebody that's going through an emotion, or they're like, hey, I don't I just had to lay off like 5 people. I don't know where I'm going to get good employees. Where do you normally get good employees? Oh, well, I normally get good employees from referrals. You know what? I didn't think about that. All you did was ask them, where do you normally get good employees?
Employees, of course, right.
Like, oh, well, let me send a note out to my employees saying that we're losing 3 people and, we're looking for good ones if they have somebody. Thanks, you're a genius. Like, I didn't even make that suggestion. I just asked the question.
I just asked the question, right?
Right. So my opinion is that you will always find your home inside of a community being authentic, because so many people are trying so hard to be someone they're not.
Right.
And you got a lot to offer when you stop worrying about, what do I offer? What do I offer? What do I offer?
Right.
Put your palms up, say, hey, here's what I can offer. And then when for some reason they want to offer you something back, or if they don't take it, not to be at fault for that, just to receive. It's okay to receive too. Maybe this is a time in your life where all the things that you've probably been saying to yourself, hey, I've put so much good out into the world. I put so much magic out into the world. I've done so much good by other people. When's my turn? Maybe this is the time. So be authentic. Use your superpower. But maybe it's time for you to get. Christmas is here.
Yeah, it's funny you said. I was thinking about that earlier today. How many times you constantly, particularly with the real estate thing, you know how that works. You go after it, and you continuously think in the back of your head, what if I never get there? So here, that's the same thought process. Yeah. Okay.
So what do you do from here?
So I'll still speak in the group. I think at this point, what I'll do is it's going to be a lot of taking in and listening, and just asking questions and providing value in that sense of asking a question. Still provide feedback where I can, or where I think it's not even if I think I should provide feedback, I give it feedback, whether it's taken or not taken. I just give it, and let the cards fall where they may from there. But I think the focus is going to be more listening and learning than it is me saying something or doing something to make sure my presence is known. It's just going to be asking questions. That'll be my presence. Yeah, I think that's the move.
That sounds like Oliver.
I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. I appreciate that.
Just be you, man. Just be you.
Absolutely.
And trust that you're in the room for the right reason.
Yeah, I can do that.
There's a quote that I'm sure you've heard quite often. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Sounds like you're in the right room.
I'm in the right room, but they'll never tell you what to do when you get there. That's the problem with that quote. They'll never tell you what to do.
Thankfully, we just went through that.
That's a fact. We did. Now I know exactly what to do. And that's to do nothing different. Just be myself. Same thing I was always doing before.
You know this from running a podcast. Like, people love to share. They love it.
They do. They do.
And most people, I mean, this is like a little known fact, but is everywhere. If you ask them a question about themselves or their story or their history or their wisdom, they'll tell you.
Yeah. They'll 100% they'll tell you. That's a fact.
So I think you have a tremendous platform to make a difference, add value, solve problems, maybe connect a dot that hasn't been connected. Get people to tell you their story, then make the connections within the group, or, share out things that people need and see if you can draw lines. Like, just do what you normally do, man. Like, you don't have to change for the group, but you can change the group by being you.
Right. I appreciate that. I can do that. That's something I definitely can do.
I'm confident you will.
100%. I appreciate it, Aaron. I really do. That's tremendous. Not to mention my twin gave it to me, so that also helps. You know what I mean?
I'm happy to help. If people want to find you, they want to learn more about you, they want to connect with you after this conversation, if they want to cheer you on, maybe they want to invite you to their group. Wouldn't that be fucking wild?
Oh, okay.
Just getting all the invites.
Right.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on several different platforms. At The Oliver Perry Show on IG. The Oliver Perry Show on, not IG. What is it? YouTube. That's what it is. YouTube. At The Oliver Perry Show on YouTube. From there, you should be able to get to me on Twitter as well as TikTok or whatever platform. If you want to email me, oliverp38 at gmail.com. Again, that's oliverp38 at gmail.com. Those are places you can get me. Probably the easiest place is probably email right now. Everything social media wise is relatively quiet simply because of what's going on in life, but email is 100% available. And all the social media platforms still be up. They're not going anywhere. I'm coming back to it. Just got to take some time. That's it.
Yeah, I get that. So I would encourage you to check out all of the things that Oliver is up to. I'm excited for where things go from here. I'm grateful you're here, brother. And I'm looking forward to another. We'll have to do like a chat on the 24th this time, like a video
I'm down.
chat.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man. Well, thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure, bro.
Check Oliver out, and if you need a reminder, this is it. Get out of your own way. Be authentic. It'll happen for you. Thanks for tuning in.